First of all praises to all of the spirits and in the name of God's that you want to call it. It's all one spirit. I call it the psychopisces. People who understand what I'm saying is that, in the great holy books it says it was darkness and there was a little light. And in that little light, it's so small you can't even measure it, but it's sort of like 13 or 14 billion years old, and everything that we have in this universe is in that. I started that way to say that I think I was put here not as an artist to interpret the technique of most artists put emphasis on the technique more so than the spirituality of healing. I was found as a child prodigy in Bainbridge, Georgia. Went to school in Tallahassee, and then I went to my father's people in Los Angeles, California, and a lady named Dr. Samela Lewis found me and took me there and taught me, and Dr. Hodges and Rogers Glenn, Dr. Norm Nuremberg, that taught me about the whole idea of the spirituality of gods and stuff like that. He says, if you're going to be an artist, you can't just paint pretty pictures. Paint them as being beautiful, because paintings actually heals you. That's why we're put here, not to just deal on the techniques. Say that Richard Wright can do this and another guy can do this. We put so much emphasis on that until we've forgotten about the spirituality of what we are as human beings that relates to other human beings, whether you're black, white, blue, grizzly, gray, or polka dot. So by the way, thank you, this museum, for inviting me. I can't name the people in order, but I'll be back. Thank you. I got some family here, Jasper Hart, Belinda Collins, Christina Collins. Would you please stand? Because I always like to have at least two. No, I want you to stand. Thank you, Miss Judy, and the ones that I've met so far. Again, I know you've heard. Have you ever heard of the Fibonacci spiral?
Yes.
Yeah, and you do know that it was Fibonacci spiral before Fibonacci figured it out. Because when they found it in sarcophagus and things, and the Anunnakis supposedly have done it, all kinds of people. The flower of life that represents the birth of the egg that's inside of the woman. This is what I paint. I paint the spirit from inside going outside, so you can see the reflection spiritually of who you are. And once you see who you are, you change. And people like Da Vinci and a few other, Caravaggio lost his life doing that. They asked him to do a painting of Samson. He did a painting of Samson with the women, because he loved it, drinking wine and liking women. Pope said, you can't bring this thing in the church. And so what he did, he went to the Bible and showed it to the Pope. Of course, about 3 weeks later, because he wanted to be paid and didn't get paid, they found a hole in his head on the outside of the chapel. Da Vinci had to hide it. He coated it. But if you see the Mona Lisa, you'll see that golden spiral. And you say, Mr. Houzell, where is it? It's everywhere. Sunflowers, snails, grass, the way things grow. It's telling you that we're all connected. And for 600 years, one of the religious orders kept it out of the hands of people, and then from there, we became dumbfounded of who we are and why we're here today. Well, I'm telling you people, we're here today because of the art. Because if the Catholic Church didn't use the art, they wouldn't have had to bring a lot of people. That's how they got people into the church, by using the art, but they use it technically. They didn't explain to you the experience of the spirituality of why it was there. Few of us, I won't say luck ain't got nothing to do with it, but few of us who have been on the road, that determining road, and the bypasses and the drops and all of it, got through it. And I guess I'm one of them. I guess the Spirit wanted me to do that. Because I went back home Bainbridge, Georgia. And I said, now how in the world did I got to where I'm at now and came out of Bainbridge, Georgia? But I found out there's not so much where you came from, it's what you're going to do with it after you leave. So Bainbridge don't even know I exist. Bainbridge, Georgia don't know I exist. Barely Tallahassee knows I exist. Barely my people, when I say my people, unfortunately the people of color, very few black people buys my art or even know that I'm Afro-American, because I don't like to say that, because I deal with the spirit of what we are, not so much as what you look like. Because when you go back to that spirit, you're everything, but you're nothing. You're Alpha and Omega. Then you ask Mr. Houzell, how are you Alpha and Omega? Well, Alpha is supposed to be the beginning. But see, I did my paper at Cal Berkeley and says that does God exist? He says, and this is remembrance of me, Alpha and Omega. I said, that don't make no sense to me, because if it's Omega, you're saying that the Almighty, supposedly God, made of us ends. But it can't be Omega. Well, the hardest part is explaining how can it be Alpha? And you say, well, this can be Alpha because in the beginning, when you say in the beginning, you're saying that there was something here subconsciously in your mind before it even got here. In the beginning. I mean, you're saying that maybe it wasn't here at first. Well, it can't be Alpha either. So
excuse me, just a minute.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to get this closer.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
Try it.
Okay, Judy. Okay. So what I'm saying, or what I'm trying to say, is that art heals. Color, the color scale on any instrument, A, D, B minor, they all have a color. And this color affects you. And you could be blind. And the color still affects you. It can heal you, or it can actually destroy you. For an example, Guantanamo base in Cuba. When the prisoners come from all over the world, they put them in Guantanamo. There's a reason why they do that. And I can tell you this is the truth, is because it's near the black hole, which is called the Bermuda Triangle, but I'm not going to go into that. But they put them in orange suits. That orange and red is a color that represents life, but it also represents death. If I cut my arm and you say, oh, all of a sudden it becomes death. So orange and red is a color that can excite you. But if you keep it too long, the electrons around your atoms go so fast and it burns so fast that it starts to make bad cells, bad systems, bad you, and all of a sudden you say, I got a headache. So it ain't no accident that they were giving those people, whoever they are, on the orange suits, because it does affect them. This is stuff that has been known ever since the 60s. But just to show you, artists have not gotten into it because we have spent a lot of time by saying, technically I'm better than this, but what do you mean better? There's no betterness in art. It's just technical. I could never be Michael Jordan. I sure cannot be that guy, what's his name, the guy that shoots the well for Golden, the Warriors. Stephen Curry. I can't do it, but I can only be me. So if you're going to be a Stephen Curry or Michael Jordan, do it and research it and bring it out so you can be healed by it. Kyle Gibran, they asked Kyle Gibran, what does art? What is art? And he said art is, which means that there's no definitive meaning of what art is. It just is, which means you can make it good or you can make it bad. You can make it criminal or you can make it accessible. You can make it to make money and it makes money for you, or you can make it for healing. I should say that. I was made to do for the healing. That was a trick word, but I felt some people pick that up. That's right. Well, I already know that. I already know the aliens have made me. It's nowhere in hell that I could be what I am now without something. 5 years old, I was a child prodigy coming out of a place like Bainbridge, Georgia. The two paintings that I have here, one is a magnolia. The name of this painting is called Magnolia's Tongue. I mean, it's spelled like a girl's name, Magnolia. It's almost like she's licking her tongue out at me. But also, holistically and spiritually, it goes with the golden smile of what I'm talking about. That flower don't live that long. If you cut it before you get it home, it's going to turn brown. And there's a metaphor for what the Dalai Lama, I saw the Dalai Lama twice in LA. They came and had their convention. And I was watching the monks. In the art part, they was taking sand that was colored, blowing it down on something circle, and they made a beautiful work of art. Sort of like the Hopis do. And a lot of people across the world do that. But you know why they do that? They're telling you that after they make it, and spiritually they pray over or meditate over it, they messes it up, telling you nothing has no ending. There's an infinite amount of whatever you think you see. You can't dominate it. The Dalai Lama explained the ice, a snowflake. He says when you look at a snowflake and then look at another snowflake right in the same, it's never the same. Now just think, if Chicago, New York, Minnesota is giving snow this high and none of those flakes are the same, it makes you feel like you're very small. So what the hell are you trying to do? Dominate. It's art that heals. But if you think that you can control, that's the technical part of saying I'm better than someone else. One snowflake is no better than the other. So we have to, whether we realize it or not, or go through years, 60, 70, and 80 years old and never learn, it ain't gonna change people. So I always tell people, from the day you see me, pray, not telling you to do that, but spiritually see me, go and start doing your research, and I can tell you this for a fact, you could live longer. I wish I could teach on that. So this flower here, Magnolia's tongue, like a girl, if you're gonna tongue out there, it has to go through 4 seasons. I did all 4 of them. Because when it falls, what comes out of that thing in the middle when that magnolia falls? What do you see? Pollen. You see what?
Pollen?
Yeah. No, yeah, you see a dead spear. The seeds come just before this comes. The beautiful amber and red seeds. And then you got another one that has this, and then the last one is where it's dying. Well, guess what? The one that I have where it's done died is, to me, technically, it's more prettier than this one. But they'll put this one in 4 or 5 history books, so I just wanted to share this one with you guys. Metaphorically, understanding what I'm saying, because it's the same thing what I did with Serena. You know the beetle, in not just Egyptianology, what does the beetle represent? Anybody know what the beetle represents? We call it the dodo bird. When we were kids, we called it the doodoo bird, because it extracts itself, and then it balls up and rolls, and then it puts its eggs in it from the eat. And it can weigh over 3,000, push over 3,000 times its weight. Well, the Egyptians looked at that, and they were telling you that you can do what you want to do just by just thinking it. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if you think good, it'll be good. Think bad, it's going to be bad. The dodo bird, a beetle, represents almost like a spiritual angel of our own self doing what we need to do. And that's why they got the wings of Hathor around her, because that's what she did. She put all of her energy, when she throws that ball up, that ball is a molecule of Vesica Pisces. And you know what Vesica Pisces means. Vesica, in the eye world, ophthalmologists take 2 lenses and then you put it together. Once you put it together, you have an eye-looking thing. On the back of your dollar bill, that's what that eye means. Inside of that eye is Horus, right, Moon, Ra, meaning that light. That's why they have it on the back of the dollar bill. In other words, once spirit starts to move, it creates a 360-degree consciousness. And that consciousness moves to the first point. When it gets to that point, it makes another circle. The first 6 circles is made. It's this egg that's inside of a woman that when the sperm goes in, everything is there. When it has the 19, it's called the the flower of life. Everything is in that. Every hadron, angle, until you get to the metro cube. And in the metro cube, that's why we're here right now. And that is in my art. That was in Da Vinci and a lot of other people's art. But you have to be careful how you say it, because the groups, political, religious, or whatever, I don't know why they don't want you to have it, because it's just a waste of time, what it really is. But so, anyway. I put it in my art, meaning that her concentration from the ground up, which is from her heart, to her spirit, to her throwing that ball up, it becomes a metronome, or it becomes a Pisces. All of her energy is put, she even done turn the angle of the racket, where she's going to make it go this way or this way in 1,000th of a second. That is how valuable you are, people, as human beings right now. Don't blow it. Every day, figure out something to do that can critically care for yourself and for everybody. Now, I have to ask this question. Ms. Donna, am I talking too long? No. I'm good? Okay. What I'm going to do right now, because I want to put more emphasis on asking questions. Oh, yeah, one other thing. You see I got green. Green represents earth. It represents growth, love, humanity. And when I went into the gallery right there, whoever put that gray, blue on that wall did exactly what the LA County Museum of Art. That is a color that has blue and green is a color for buying, for growth, for processing, and for healing. Whoever put that paint on that wall in that gallery suddenly knew what the heck they were doing. And they put that arch, that's part of the like a Pisces, like this, just one side of it. Because if you look at Greek and Roman things like, the arch always represented the spiritual buildings that they would go into. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to ask me questions. And do not feel inferior, superior, or any other way area. Ask me any questions. I mean that. Okay, yes, sir.
Where do you get the Egyptian influence?
Can I say this? It's actually African, but I was at California State University, Dominguez Hills, before I, coming out of a ghetto, found out Egypt was in Africa. So I always gotta say Africa first. Okay, but you understand what I'm saying. They didn't teach that in my school. Anyway, where did I get it from? Dr. Norm Nuremberg was a guy who was one of my teachers at University of California. He still had his codes in blue on his wrist. Missing the Holocaust, literally by 23 hours he would have been dead. And I learned a lot from that man, because when he came to America, he just opened it up. And I'm so happy, because if he was still living now, he'd probably be about 120 years old, but I was happy that I learned that Dr. Nuremberg. So it's not just Egyptian. This stuff is found in Mexico. Punapunca is found all over the world, man. Some of the biggest pyramids in the world is not even in Egypt. People don't know that. They got one in China. They don't know how big it is, because they won't let you cut the ground off. It's the same way in Peru. And by the way, the pyramids, the 3 pyramids that you see, is mathematically aligned with the Sirius star. If you go straight up, they're in line with the Sirius star, Sirius. The big pyramid, the little pyramid, the next one, and the next one to it. And you say, how in the heck did them people know how to get that mathematics that right and that exact? Well, they had aid, but they had aids by other people that actually came here. Another question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. In regards to this particular one, this particular painting, at the base of the painting, to me it seems like it's native, like the American Indian native American.
She's saying what you're saying.
Yeah, do you think was that intentional or
Yes, it was.
was it?
It's all the same. The archaeologist, it was a book I read a few years ago. It's called Chariots of the God, Most God, and astronaut, Eric Von Däniken. It just changed my whole world. Yes, this was found, this is in Africa. But this is in Africa too. But it also can be found in Mexico, Peru, in Canada. It's Ohio. They got a big snake in Ohio. Now they're finding out that, well, you know what? The people this is not just a hill. They don't know how old that thing is. Millions of years old. But yes, ma'am, that's exactly what that. I wish I could move. But anyway, subliminally, I'm using this as the spirit aiming to her. She's grounded on her thought process, growing in green, making the hadrons, and hitting that ball. And see, I ain't got nothing against traditional artists. They are very, very good. But very few traditional artists are doing, I think they're not doing art for the sake and the sanity and the spirituality of art. They're not doing it. They're doing it, ain't nothing wrong with selling. But you can only sell so much. And you know, I saw Jackson Pollock went to a high school not too far on Santa Barbara Avenue in LA. And the high school, they have all kinds of guards around the high school because they don't want, his family don't want the stuff to be moved inside of the high school when he was in the high school, Santa Barbara. And then I looked at Jackson Pollock and how popular he got, how famous he got. And I said to myself, because I was hard up for money. And I said, why is this guy so popular? He used to take shotgun shells and put paint in it and shoot it on the wall. He'd take a tricycle and turn the things upside down and get high and do like this and all over the thing. Because he was trying to get an idea of a 3-year-old. Can you tell me how the hell you going to become a 3-year-old and you 40 years old? That has to be crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with it because people are buying it. But it's not healing. That's the point. That's why I'm glad the spirits made me as a healing artist. And because it connects everywhere on the world, on this earth. It all connects. Okay, another one? Yes, ma'am.
I'm enchanted with the 3 dancers. Where did you find them?
They were in Mali, Dahomey, what you would call Dahomey. And this is a very important place because actually Mali and Dahomey is connected with the Dogons. Now let me tell you about 30 seconds about the Dogons. Did you know that the Dogons is the only people on the planet Earth can trace their inhabitants back over 13 million years of a star? I forgot, it's gone Nova. And the god is Noma. They can't see the star. We couldn't even find the star until 1970. And they were doing dances every 6 or 6 years that it was coming in. And you say, how the hell did they do that? And when Picasso went over there, stole some stuff and said they were primitive. Well, it was primitive. I ain't going to go into that. I was going to say it was primitive. I'm calling it primitive. But they come from Dogon, which is Mali. Yeah, look them up. Yes, ma'am. All right, I want to hear a guy ask a question here. You guys, the wisdom of a woman. No, I ain't going to go to that. Ain't going that way. Okay. Yes, sir.
In terms of today and tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
the work that you're doing, what are the things that concern you the most that you want to communicate, that you feel you must get out there?
That's a good question, but it's not a hard one. I want to show that everything that we perceive and we can see, we should share. We should share. That's a short answer. But the long answer is you can't have it for your own self. If you do that, we'll go back 600 years again, back in history, and we'll be back where we are now. Why can't we figure out why the Greeks, the Romans, Syrian and the Egyptians can take 200-ton stones and stick them in the air, and we can't figure out how they got there. That's why you should share, because it'll get lost. See, the person who was over it and controlling it because now, yes, he was calling himself, he wasn't a god, but he was calling himself a god. But when he died, the unknown idea, he knew how they got there, but he didn't tell nobody. So then you go back in history for 600 years, and now we're up to now, and to pick up one 200-ton rock, it takes 21 biggest cranes that we had, and they can only pick it up 5 feet. How in the hell are you going to get it 500 feet in the air? It's a waste of time, man. We're definitely wasting time. Yes, sir. Another sir. Ain't no way I did this. This perfect. Okay.
How would you go about getting a young person?
I can't hear you.
Louder.
A little louder.
How would you go about influence a young person to get into the art?
Hmm.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, how would I go about influencing a young person to get in or stay into the arts? Here's how I would do it. I will let them know that their self is important as anyone else's self. In our community, one of the problems that we have is that when we couldn't learn language, tongues was cut out. So we did what we could do to survive, just survive. And if it means that they don't want you to say something, we didn't do it for 100, 200 years. But that brain, and top of the brain, cut itself off, so we was in a survival mode for 300 some years. It didn't mean that they was doing the right thing, but I think personally they were ignorant of what they were doing. They thought that they could only survive with what they had the knowledge to survive with, and that wasn't true. Because my father used to say, just think of 340 some years of history. If both of those minds had gotten together, I should be having this museum on Mars this weekend. That's how much knowledge we've lost. And that's how you try to influence young children to see themselves as being something that's more valuable than the things that are around them. Creed, color, black, white, blue, goes away, polka dot, that has nothing to do with it. But once you take away that mind, I will say this. My father used to say, once you take away the mind, you got the behind. And then it becomes way behind. Okay. Yes. Oh, I thought I saw the hand. Yes, ma'am.
So, you were recognized as a prodigy as a young person. Who first recognized you or helped lift you up?
Okay, that was a good question. The first person that influenced me and my mother to stay an artist was my father. That was the very first person, because he wanted to be an artist, but he never got there to be an artist. The next person the very first person I ever saw paint anything was Dr. Simela Lewis. She just died, by the way, about 2 months ago. 99 years old. She was like the prima donna of the art world. She was the first female ever to get a double PhD from Ohio State, 48 and 49. She was in China before Nixon went. That's how great she was. Well, she was working at FAMU University, and at the time we had moved from Bainbridge to Tallahassee, and she was in a church that I used to skate around. And one day I was skating around on the sidewalk, and I thought I saw the person up there painting, but I was so little I had to grab the edges of the window and pull up, and then ball leg down, pull up. And one day I pulled up and she said, "Would you please come in here? Because you're annoying me with that up and down movement." Because I wasn't going to stop coming. she was painting a crucifixion. And that's the first time I ever, and the thing, it wasn't that I wasn't painting, but I had never seen nobody paint. And so that she was a straight good, I mean, one of the greatest influences in my life. And then she influenced my father to go, so I can go back to my father's people in California. She, at the time, she was just so happy to get a job at Cal State LA. And when she left, I left about 2 months after. And I can't say my life changed because I don't know no other life. The life that I have now has always been in art, with good people around me to influence me to do things correct, good. And she always say, you be your worst critic. Meaning that if you see something off, don't paint over it because most people can't see it, because you can see it. And when you can see it, the golden spiral that's in me heals me. So there are paintings. I have gessoed. I bet you I got 50 paintings that I've gessoed over the painting and redrew it. And Samela says, look, Paul, you got to stop doing that. I asked her why. And she says, because it gives you a non-controlled emphasis of where you were without a certain knowledge. I thought it had to be perfect. I think that's what the gene had given me. I want to do it perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Because when you do it perfect, I look at this painting here right now and I see more flaws in it. I said, if I had to do it over, right now. But I just have to go on like that's the cell of the snow, meaning that ain't running out of ideas. Just paint the next idea and keep going to heal. So I really hope this stuff heals you guys, change your lives, you know, make you rethink. Because I know you've heard this. The rest of the day that you have starts with the day. I said start with the moment. So we all here are artists. We just do it in a different manner. Loving people, giving romance to your husband and your wife, telling you love them. I found out that Dr. Norrenberg told me, says that if you take 2 glass bottles of rice, put one in one room and put another one in the other room. The one room you say, I hate you, I don't like you, you're no good. And then the other, don't let the other one hear it. Say, I love you, you're good romance. Within 90 days, one of them would turn dark and start to decapitate. That's why it's important to have flowers or plants in your house. Try it when you go home, try that. That's why we should say, I'm going to say it to you right now. And there's a guy named George Wallace, a comedian, who ever heard of him? Nobody? Okay, yeah. He has a little thing he always says, and I'm going to say it to you. I'm saying it to you right now to start healing you. Guess what, people? I love you, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. That's what you got to say to he and her and him, or whatever your partner is. And that heals them. That will actually start their heart to heal, or the cancer to leave. All those things are creative things of saying, I hate, I don't want, it ain't enough, it ain't good enough. Well, you ain't the God, so you are little God, but you ain't the Spirit, so tell them you love them. And go on. Religion is a good commodity, but if it's used wrong, it can absolutely destroy you, just like it can heal you. So you have realigning knowledge, that's what religion means. Meditation is to acquire and start to heal, so it's a different way, different thing. It's totally different than meditating and then what you call praying. Praying is that you've already done something that you shouldn't do, or it's gotten to your point, so you're asking for a miracle. Which miracles do happen? When you meditate, you don't have to get to the miracle. You ain't gonna never get there. As long as I can see and paint this stuff the way it is, this stuff is going to keep healing me. Always. I can't talk and teach healing, and then I'm going and doing something else. That's what I'm saying. Can't do that. The angels, man, those guys will take it from you in a second. Okay. Ask me something about color.
What do you want to tell us about color?
Now that was real smart. You know color, all of the keys in color, like C, is a C is a color of E, which is a color of green, blue. The horn on a car, this Packard, years ago when they was making the horns for the cars, I think the Packard organization had a guy. I know who they got. They actually got Tesla to do it, but they never gave him credit. Tesla found out that there's a certain sound that you can put on a car, because a car can kill you in a split second, to awaken your heart, your spirit, and so it's annoying, but it's a waking up for you immediately. Look, that's why car horns are in a certain key. Have you ever seen, what's the name of the Italian family that built those violins? Stradivarius. You ever wonder why Stradivarius used like this to open up the holes for the sound to come out of the violin? Because he could have used a square, he could have used a circle. Why did he use the golden spiral? Oh, I just told you. But anyway, the treble clef, the bass clef, the spiral. It works, but we're not taught that in school. By the time we taught that, we've already got so much in our brain, so we're taught to remember, not to learn creatively using that right brain. We use the carnal brain. We already know 1 and 1 is 2. And by the way, we knew that the Anunnakins had more than 10-digit numbers. We only got 9. That's why it's 3, 6, 9. Everything moves in that spiral that way. And by the way, track and field goes that way. Daytona 500 goes that way. Baseball goes that way. 3, 6, 9, 3 outs. That represents the three little pigs, 3 little bears. All of those things are metaphors for something. And it all mates to what we are. Let me give you another one. I was talking with a guy just the other day, and he told me how. I said, I can't. I was born March 6th. I said, do you know what born means? Look up the word born. It has nothing to do with coming out of the womb. Born means to be here with nothing, that you came from nothing to be so. When were you born? You're already 9 months old when you come out of the womb. Duh. But see how simple it is, and we just don't pay attention to it. You're 9 months old before you come out. Now they can put you in the womb, take you out of the womb, the one twin, work on that twin, put that twin back in the womb, and then it's come back in that 10 months. So when are you born? No, it's when you were conceived. That means when that sperm went in that egg, it went in that mother, and you started making that hedron. That's when you were born. You come out 9 or 10 months old, sometimes 12. I'm a twin. We was in there for 10 months. So if you know when you came out, only thing you got to do is add 3 months on. So if you came out March the 3rd, March, April, May, June, your mother and father copulated and got together sometime in June. It's just that very simple. And now the medical people are teaching that. But see, you see how something that's so simple can become so complicated. This lady in Texas, 4 days ago, she was stopped on the freeway. You know, the freeway where you have the fast lane, HVO lane. And you got to have, one or more people in the car. She was pregnant. And he said, where's the other person? And just a few days ago in Texas, they claimed that they have the determination on when you are a human being, when you're not. I think it was 15 or whatever the weeks were. She was 34 weeks. And she said, in my belly, in my womb. And she was right. Now they're going to have to go back and figure that dumb stuff out. I mean, if she's carrying a human being and you don't see it, don't mean it's not a human being, because you just said it in your law. I'm saying all this. Get back to the heavens. What's real? Do it for the spirit of making happiness among you. Tell the people you love them and mean it. Yes, ma'am.
Is your twin an artist?
No, she wanted to be an artist, but I think she gave up the idea of drawing, so whatever money we had, she was helping me. Because when by the time I got to the first grade, when they buy the notebook paper and stuff like that, in 2 days, on both sides of my notebook paper would just be gone. One English said, how you gonna write something in English? I wasn't interested in English. So I used to borrow papers and books from other people. I was smart. But once I saw a clean piece of paper, something art was gonna go in it. So she gave that up to let me have it. And I thank her for this day, and I love her for that. Because she wouldn't have had to do this now, but that's true love. That's really true love. That's why you have to get up. First of all, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love me. Then go to your wife, or girlfriend, or whatever, and say, I love you. And they might say, what does that mean? If she or he say that, that means she don't know. I'm not playing. It's the truth. But tell her to say it. And heal, that's part of the healing process. And get art around you that will heal you. One other thing I want to say before I end this conversation. I want to see more, I hate to say this because I don't believe in the separation. I'm tired of being called a black artist. I want to be called a human artist. But in the metaphor where we are, I'm tired of seeing national and beautiful museums like this not inviting me to come and have a show. I want you to work on that for me. I should have a show here to see my 40 or 50 pieces. I should. Because we do not have that in the black community. I didn't even like them saying a black Smithsonian. They did that to appease us. Why can't they just say Smithsonian? They had one for over 100 years. I'm not prejudiced here on my kind, but it don't make no sense. Oh, maybe we don't want yours to be in there. What do you mean you don't want mine to be in there? I'm a human being. I don't believe in that 13th and 14th Amendment, the 4th, 5th, or 5th, or whatever 5th that was claimed that what I am. I'm not that. If there's anything, I'm 100% 5th, 100 5th, 1,000 5ths, or 2,000 5ths. Another question. I need one more question. Yes?
When considering any one of your pieces, can you talk to the spiritual transition that you go through from the inception of the idea to when you personally know the piece is complete?
That's a good question. I want you to believe this because this is the truth. They all connect. I did this painting before I did that painting. But this painting gave me influences that closed the gap to do that one and other paintings. In other words, the Spirit had already told me, but I couldn't hear it. But it was there. So it was in my subconscious mind. So when it was time, I go up another grade, get to the 12th, I'm just using grade as a metaphor. When I get to the 12th grade, then I say, oh yeah, I remember that 5 years ago. Believe me or not, people, the painting is not the hardest part for me. I'll think of something, and for months, as I lay down on the bed, my biggest canvas? The ceiling. I have changed that sucker 50 and 60 times, color it 4 or 5, I don't know how many times. When I get the canvas, it's already, I can do that. I can do this painting here in a week. Because I've already done it 1,000 times. That's answering your question. In other words, they all connect. I don't disconnect it. I don't have a blue period and a red period and all those crazy periods. I have one. The Native American says you have one day. Pope Gregory tried to break it up in hours, and he made a mistake. Because in February we got 29 days, so that don't make no sense. And ain't no difference between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's just one day. That's the consciousness of the Spirit, Pisces, until you die and you lose your consciousness. You have one day in life. That's all it is. Any other question? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Are they oil paintings?
Can I change that for you?
Yes.
There are paintings in oil. So there's a little difference between are they oil paintings than they are painted in oil. And okay. Another question. Huh? Oh, nothing is something. Yes.
The
Wait a minute, the presence of what now?
darkness in
Oh,
paintings
yeah.
is very advantageous.
Why?
Why?
Hmm.
Well, especially with the magnolia, it kind of makes me feel, I guess, cozy.
Yeah, that's
Drawn in.
that's a good physical word. Remember, well, my art teacher told me this. If you don't know where to start a painting, just do it by what the Holy Book said. In the beginning, it was darkness. Bring in the light. That means the insight of the God of the Spirit, what you want to say, because everything is dealt in that. What darkness does is says that all knowledge is there, but it accentuate and make the light just come out better. That's why walls in a gallery should never be white or all white, because it reflects it, and you can't see the painting. It don't bring you into the painting. And that's one of the golden spirals. It brings you in to God, or whatever you want to call it. That was a good one. That's a good one. Okay, any other questions? Ideas? Which painting do you like? Let me see the hands of the people that like this one better. Ooh, let me see the pens that like that one better. Oh my God, it's almost even. Bless your heart. Thank you. That means one is no better than the other. It's a different concept. They're all a different concept. Stravinsky, Toscanini, all those guys, when they Bach for sure says one symphony is no better than the other. It's where it's at in its time and its care. But we want to make it better because we got to a point where we think we can understand it better. Well, that's a little small understanding. It's small. Thank you for liking both of them evenly.